Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1936 mostly silent family comedy Modern Times. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that rousing show of support, which I desperately need sometimes. If this is your first time joining me, I am reviewing every movie in this book, The 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. Modern Times is a very iconic, very popular movie from Charlie Chaplin. This is the sixth film I've ever seen from Chaplin. The other five were City Lights, Gold Rush, The Great Dictator, The Kid, and Monsieur Voodoo. There is going to be one more film in this book for Charlie Chaplin, and it is not The Great Dictator, which I think is crazy. It is Monsieur Voodoo. Now, besides Charlie Chaplin playing the factory worker, it also stars his love interest slash wife in real life at the time, Paulette Goddard, who played a gamin slash transient slash vagabond slash homeless woman. Now, this movie is a commentary on the Great Depression. I think for this list so far, I've seen about 50 films from the 1930s, and almost all of them are a commentary on the Great Depression, especially the ones from the 1930s to 1934, somewhere around there. It really shows you how tragic and terrible and unforgiving this time period was. Now, this movie is considered the last great silent masterpiece. It was largely silent, using synchronized sound only for effects and brief dialogue. And this is the last appearance of Charlie Chaplin's Tramp character. This movie is an iconic satire of industrialization. It sharply critiques factory labor, mechanization, and modern capitalism during the Great Depression. It is a social commentary wrapped in a comedy. It deals with unemployment, workers' rights, economic inequality, and the physiological toll of repetitive labor. This movie was a turning point in film history. It is the first time the Tramp's voice is heard, and he sings a song with nonsense lyrics, which I think is him basically calling out early silent films, saying that they were so rough and so difficult to understand that it just sounded like a bunch of nonsense to him. So, like I said, this movie is a social commentary that talks about workers' rights, economic inequality, and the physiological toll of repetitive labor. I will just say that for 10 years, I worked in fast food. I worked at a Wendy's. Working at a Wendy's as a redhead is hard enough as it is, but I saw the toll of repetitive labor, the economic equality, and workers' rights. You are basically just like a number when you work in fast food. You're pretty much told right off the bat that you are completely replaceable, that this is not skilled labor, that if you don't do exactly what you want, if you don't work overtime, if you don't work every day without taking vacations, without taking time off, that you can be replaced. I once asked my manager if I could have a couple days off as a vacation, and he came back with just a huge stack of applications, and he said, you can have a couple days off, but here's a lot of people who will not ask me for a couple days off, so you might not have your job when you get back, essentially, is what he told me. So this kind of labor is definitely real still today, and it's still incredibly difficult to work in this type of field. So when this movie opens up, he is at this factory, and he's basically just screwing these gears on this conveyor belt, where he's just like screwing these gears, and he's going as fast as he can, and he's expected to work quickly. He's expected to work constantly, to take no breaks, to basically do the work of like probably a couple people who would work a couple different shifts, but he's just expected to do this by himself. There's even a point where he goes to try to take a smoke break, and there's this big screen in the bathroom, and his boss comes on the screen and tells him to stop taking a smoke break and get back to work. Now, eventually, he goes insane. He gets caught in the machine and he comes out of the machine. And when he comes out, he has had enough. He's basically fed up with this type of life, and he gets his revenge on everyone around him. He has like some sort of, it's like a water or oil canister, I don't remember, but he starts squirting his coworkers, and he starts running around and causing havoc and causing chaos around his place of business. He eventually gets fired, and when he gets fired, he goes out onto the street and he accidentally leads this like communist parade. And as he's leading the communist parade, he gets arrested and put in jail. Now, while he's in jail, he realizes that he really likes it. I mean, there's really no responsibility. You get food, you get fed, you get water, you get everything you need. He becomes accustomed to being in jail, and at one point he is released, and he says, I don't want to be released, I want to stay here. This is actually pretty decent compared to what I had out in the world, where I was working all the time. I had no breaks. I was a slave out there, and now I'm here and everything's great. He ends up getting released, though, and when he gets released, he runs into this woman who is his love interest eventually, who is the transient / homeless woman, and she steals a piece of bread. And when she steals a piece of bread, the cops come after her, and when I was watching this, my understanding was that the tramp felt bad for her and that he took a liking to her. So he said, no, the bread is mine. I stole the bread. She didn't do it. And they end up realizing that she is actually the one who stole the bread. So they take her and put her in the old paddy wagon. And he goes into a restaurant, orders all this food, eats it. He can't pay for it. And they end up arresting him and putting him in the paddy wagon too. Now, I guess there's two different ways you could view this. My initial viewing, I thought that it was because he liked this woman and he wanted to be near her and next to her, and he felt bad for her. So he also got arrested. But you could also see this as he enjoyed being in jail, and this was an opportunity for him to go back to jail so he could be rearrested and have this nice cozy life again. So while in jail, he ends up convincing this woman to break out. They break out of jail. He gets a job working as a night watchman at a department store, and while he's there, he doesn't really do any night watchman stuff, really. It seems like they're just there because they want to have a place to stay and a place to live. In fact, he says that like this can be their mansion and their house for now, but one day they will have a true mansion and a true place to live. She ends up sleeping in the bed in the department store, and he ends up stealing a bunch of food for them. He gets caught stealing the food, and when he's caught, one of the police officers who arrests him is someone who worked with him at the factory, and he recognizes him. And the tramp basically says, look, we're not crooks, we're not thieves, we're just hungry. Like, we need something to eat, we need food. So eventually throughout this movie, he gets arrested a bunch of times and gets put back in jail for different things that he's doing. There comes a point where he gets out of jail again, and his love interest ends up getting them a shack to live in, and they end up living in this shack together. Eventually, the transient woman becomes a dancer at a nightclub, and she says, look, I got you a job at this nightclub where I work. And they think that he is able to serve food pretty well. He does. Like, he gets mixed up and jumbled into a lot of the crowd, and he has a hard time serving the food. But I would say his big moment comes at the end of the movie, where they also think that he can sing. So they think that not only can he serve the food, but he can sing and he can dance and he can be the entertainment for the crowd as well. So they ask him to sing, and of course, I mean, this is Charlie Chaplin. He doesn't have a voice in the movie. So he's like reading the lines and he's trying to memorize the lines, and he gets up there, they ask him to sing. He's like, I don't know any of these. I don't know what to sing. I don't know what I'm looking at. I can't, like, what am I supposed to be singing here? Eventually he just makes up his own song. He starts singing. It's the first time you hear the tramp ever sing. I think it's the first time you ever hear Charlie Chaplin's voice on screen. It's just a nonsensical song, like I said before, but he does like a nice little dance number, and everyone loves it, and everyone thinks he's great. And at the end of the movie, there is a lot of hope for their future and a lot of hope that things are going to get better and that they are going to improve their lives. Now, I thought this movie was really good. If I'm going to be 100% honest, I think it's probably one of for me, one of his least funny movies that I've seen. And I don't know why. I know he's married to Paulette Goddard in real life, but I don't like their chemistry a whole lot in this movie. There's something about her character, and there's just something about their interactions that I don't think is as good as his relationship that he had with his female lead in like City Lights, or even like the relationship he had with the child in The Kid. I just think there's like emotional connections in the other movies that he doesn't have with her here. I feel like they're more disconnected with each other emotionally. They're more disconnected with each other as far as like a deep relationship goes. And I can't really put my finger on why, but it just seems like it's focused more on surviving. It's focused more on trying to live and get through the day to day than it is on the relationships. And I really like Charlie Chaplin because I think his movies have deep, great relationships in them, like he has, like I said, with The Kid and City Lights. And I just didn't see that here, and I was looking for it. I really wanted to love their relationship and to love the love that they were feeling for each other, but for some reason it just didn't affect me like the other two movies did, and that kind of took the movie down a peg for me. I think I was expecting a lot, and maybe I was expecting too much, and I didn't really get what I was expecting. Besides that, the commentary on how factory workers are treated, how repetitive work is treated, how employees who are extremely replaceable is treated, I thought that was spot on. Even today, it's aged so well. Even today, that's true. Well, I mean, I haven't worked in fast food in like 13 or 14 years, maybe 15 years. But when I worked in fast food, it was still true today. I mean, obviously the modernization is different, the technology is different, but I mean, you're still basically treated the same way, just as a number, just as someone who is extremely replaceable. And if you don't want to go over and beyond what you're supposed to do, then they will just find someone else, someone younger, someone with more energy, someone with more pep in their step, who is willing to be used because maybe it's their first job, and they have this idea that they're going to grab the bull by the horns and live life. They have this brand new job, and they're seeing everything with rose-colored glasses, and that's the kind of person that they want, and not you, who has been working in this field forever, and you kind of have animosity towards the people that you're working for. But I thought everything else was spot on. I just, for some reason, was not as into the love relationship in this movie that I was in other Charlie Chaplin movies. But that being said, even though this is probably my second least favorite movie that I've seen with him, it's still a masterpiece. It's still phenomenal. I mean, we're not talking about like a movie that's a 7 out of 10 here. We're talking, I'm still going to give it a 9 out of 10. That's because everything else with Charlie Chaplin, I've given like 9.5s and 10s out of 10s. He's still one of the greatest directors, one of the greatest silent film actors, one of the greatest storytellers I've ever seen in my life. It's just this one is not one of my favorite ones from him. It is a 9 out of 10. I hope you join me next time when I review a movie called Swing Time. And just as a little bit of a spoiler for that, I am not a fan of Fred Astaire. So the next movie is Swing Time with Fred Astaire. I hope you join me for that. This one is a 9 out of 10. Thank you. Have a great day.